Hi friends, welcome to another session of pseudocodes. So now I'd like to discuss some other pseudocodes. Okay, the first code is okay friends. Just look at this program. So this is a program where we have declared a variable called I with a value 5, and here we are printing the I value for I plus plus, I plus plus, I plus plus. Okay, so we see this kind of bits or pseudocodes in so many competitive exams and placement exams. Okay, so what does it gives as an output? Okay, so here you are just printing the value of I with I plus plus. That means you are printing the incrementing of I 3 times. Okay, so what does the output will look like? Okay, so some may predict that this will give 7 6 5 or 5 6 7. Okay, so you may think of something like 5 6 7 or 7 6 5. Okay, so you will get different kinds of output. Okay, so that is absolutely correct friends. Okay, when you run on Windows, that means when you run on Turbo C2, you will get some kind of output, and when you run it on Ubuntu or Linux, okay, then you will get some different kinds of an output. Okay, so the answer for this question is compiler dependent. Okay, so the answer is compiler dependent. Just look at this another example. Okay, so here we have declared a variable called x here, and inside for loop we have initialized x to -1. So x will be initialized to -1, then -1 less than or equals to 10, which is true, and we go here and -1 less than 5 is true, so it executes continue. Okay, so what does mean continue? So continue will skip all the expressions or statements after that and directly takes you to the x increment. So x is get incremented, so -1 plus 1 means this will become a 0, and again will come back here, and 0 less than or equals to 10 means true, and again will come here, 0 less than 5 is true, and again continue is executed. So we'll again go here and x will become a 1. So 1 less than or equals to 10, then 1 less than 5 true, and continue. So this will be continued for 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so for 5 also, 5 less than or equals to 10 means true, will come here. 5 less than 5 is a false, so we'll come to a break. So what is the use of break? Break will bring you, or it will takes you out of the for loop. Okay, so you don't go here. Okay, this will never get printed. You will just come out of it and the execution of the program is closed. So the answer for this is this particular string is never printed. That means that will be printed 0 times. Okay, so the string Vishnu is printed 0 times. The next bit I'm going to discuss is about pointers. Okay, so most of the times you will see that int star ptr inside square bracket 10. Okay, so what does it mean? Okay, so here we have wrote this star ptr inside a parenthesis. Okay, inside a parenthesis. Okay, what does it mean? This means ptr is a pointer to an array of 10 integers. an array of 10 integers. Okay, so please look at this particular declaration, friends. So this is a int star ptr is inside the parenthesis, and this is a size 10. Okay, so that means this pointer star ptr is declared to point to an array of size 10 elements. That means if there is an array where I am having these 10 elements, okay, so 0, 1, 2 until 9. Okay, so if this is some array x or something, so this pointer is declared to point to that array of 10 integers. Okay, so that is the meaning of this one. Okay, so what happens if I remove this? What happens if I remove this? Okay, so what does it mean? This means this is an array of 10 pointers. Okay, so this is an array of 10 pointers. That means the elements in this particular array are not values, they are actually pointers to some other integers. So this is called an array of 10 integer pointers. But if I put a parenthesis here, this will become a pointer declaration which will point to an array of 10 integers. So that is the difference between these two notations. This is another example, friends. So just look at this code. So here what we have done here is, so we have declared an array of size 5. So ARR is an array with the size 5. So there are 5 elements will get stored, but we have initialized it with only a single value. Okay, so that means that single value will be kept here. So all the indexes will be 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so the question here is, what about the remaining elements? Okay, so when I have initialized an array with a fewer elements than its number of elements, what happens? The remaining all elements will be filled with zeros. So that means automatically all these values will be stored as zeros here. So my for loop will print all the elements of my array. So that means the output here will be, the first element is 1 and the remaining elements are zeros. So it will print me 1 followed by 4 zeros. So please remember, friends, when you are initialize an array with fewer elements, all the remaining elements will be initialized to zeros. Okay, just look at this another example. So here what we have done here is, we have declared a variable called x here with the size 5. So x is created with the value 5. Then there is an array called ARR. So ARR is the array and its size is given as x value. What is x value? X is 5. So that means this array is created for 5 elements, storing 5 elements. Okay, so here what we have declared here is static int x equals to 0. That means this x is a local variable and this is the global variable. So up to till here the x means x is 5, but here this x is redefined. Okay, so there is no problem, friends. So you can absolutely declare a same name for, you can give same name for the global variable and as well as a local variable, but here the preference will be given to the local variable. So another x is created here with a value called 0, and here you are initializing this x2 or assigning this x2 size of r. Okay, so for example, assuming, okay, size of int data type, size of int data type as a 4 bytes. Okay, assume that the size of int data type is 4 bytes. Okay, so if I say size of r, so there are 5 elements and each block occupies 4 bytes because size of the integer is I have taken as a 4 bytes. So each element takes 4 bytes and total 5 elements will take 5 into 4, that equals to 20. Okay, this size of will return number of bytes, that is 20, the value 20 to the x. So x will be stored as 20. Okay, so here what we are doing is, we are printing the value, what is that, x left shifted by 2 times. Okay, friends, so this is called left shift operation. Okay, left shift operation. Okay, so what happens when I shift a number to left by 1 position? Okay, so if I shift a number to left by 1 position, its value is actually get doubled. Okay, so that means if I shift towards this left, 20 will become a 40 and again if I shift, this will become 80. Okay friends, so this is what happens when you left shift a number. So here the answer is 80. So this is the output friends. So answer is 80. Okay, so maybe you may get a doubt that okay, how my value will get doubled. Okay, so for that I want to show you something. Okay, so just look at this. Just look at this, okay. For example, this is the total 8-bit register or something like a X value, okay. So I am storing this X as a byte, okay, that means a 8-bit value, okay. So I am storing this as a X as a 8-bit value. So the X value is actually, so this size of has given X as a 20, okay. So what is the value? 20 in binary, okay. So how you store this value 20 in binary means 0 0, because this is the value for okay, this is a 1 and this is 2 4 8, this is 16, this is a 32, this is a 64, and this is 128. Okay friends, so this is a what happens, okay, so with all these values, because this is a 2 power 0 and this is 2 power 1, 2 square, 2 cube, 2 to the power of 4, 2 to the power of 5, 2 to the power of 6, 2 to the power of 7 friends. Okay, so that's why I have written those values. So for the 4 there will be 1 and here this is 0. For 16 there will be 1, this is 0 0 0. Okay friends, so there are one set 2 power 4 and 2 square. 2 power 4 means 16. Okay, so this is 16 and this is a 4. So 16 plus 4 means 20. So this is the value 20 in binary friends. Okay, so what happens if I shift my value towards left? Okay, so towards left means this 0 will come here, this 0 will come here, 1 moves to this place, this will be here, 1 moves to next place, this will be 0, this will be 0, and this will go on outside, so that will be discarded, and from outside a 0 will come here. Okay friends, so what is this value? Just look at this friends. So this is this one is at 2 power 3, that is 8, and this one is at 2 power 5, that is 32. So 32 plus 8 means that is a 40. Okay friends, so what happened? I have taken 20 and I have left shifted my value, and 20 has become a 40 now. Okay, so again if I shift and one more time, so again this will 0 will come here, 0, this is 0 and 1 will come here, and this is a 0 and this is a 1 and this is 0 and this 0 will be gone out, that will be discarded, and from this, so into this place a 0 will come from outside. Okay, so just look at this friends. So this is the one is at 64 plus, and this one is at 16 plus, okay, so remaining all are, there is no value. So 64 plus 16 friends, so this is 80 obviously. Okay, so this is the logic friends. Okay, why you have got the output for this program as 80 means, so this is how you get this value 80. Hope you understand this concept. Okay friends, just look at this another example. So here what we have done here is, we have declared a variable x with value 5. So x is having a value 5 here, and there are simple if and else. Okay, so here x is less than 1, that means 5 less than 1, which is a false value, and this will never get executed. And we come here, x equals to 5, that means 5 equals to 5, which is true, and printf high will get executed. So output for this is high, and this else will never get executed. So here the output is high. So very simple example friends. Okay friends, so just look at this example. There is a number 16 with a base value 8, that is an octal number. Okay, what is its value in base 16, that is hexadecimal value. Okay, so how you convert this? So how you convert that is basically this 16 with octal number or base 8 will be converted as this is 8 power 0 and this is 8 power 1. So this can be written as 1 into 8 power 1 plus 6 into 8 power 0. Okay, so this will be nothing but so 8 plus 6 into 1 means 6 here, 6, which is 14 number in base 10, friends. Okay, so what is a 14 number? 14 in decimal, in hexadecimal. So 14 is represented with a letter called E. So 14 is nothing but E, friends. So the answer is E. Look at this pseudocode, friends. So this is one of the important bit. Okay, so carefully look at this pseudocode. I will give you how this particular pseudocode will get executed. Okay, and what will be the value of the I by the end of the program. Okay, so I need to find out what is the value of the I. So that is my task. Okay, so here just carefully look at this. So X is having a 1 here, and I is having a 1 here. So initially X and I are taken as ones. Okay, so this is a while loop. Okay, so while X less than or equals to 1000, X means 1, 1 less than or equals to 1000, which is true. Okay, so this is the body of the while loop, and here what we are doing is X equals to 2 power X. Okay, friends, so this is called power. Okay, so what does it mean? This is like something like this, 2 power X. Okay, power function, 2 power X. Okay, so what happens? So X value is 1. So here X equals to 2 power X, which is 2 power 1, and its value is 2. That means X will get the value 2. So now the X value 1 is override with 2. Okay, so here what I am doing, I am incrementing I value. So I value is also 1 is incremented to plus 1, that is a 2. Okay, friends, so this is end, and we not yet finished the while loop, because you only come out of the while loop when the condition becomes a false. So again you go here. Okay, go to that, and again you compare. So now my X value is 2 less than or equals to 1000, which is true value. So again I come here. So again X equals to 2 power X means 2 now. So which is a 4. Okay, friends. So X will be changed from 2 to 4 now. Okay, and I is incremented. I will become a 2 plus 1, that is 3 now. Okay, friends. So again I'll go there. Okay, my new value of X is a 4. 4 less than or equals to 1000 means which is a true value. And again I'll come into the body, and again X equals to 2 power 4. Okay, friends. So 2 power 4. Okay, what do you mean by 2 power 4? 2 power 4 means 16. Okay, so 2 power 4 means 16. So my X value will be changed from 4 to 16, because this 16 is stored into the X. So X will become a 16 now. And I will be, so 3 plus 1 means this will be 4 now. Okay, friends. So again I'll come back here. 16 less than or equals to 1000. Okay, so which is true. And again come inside. Okay. Again come inside. Then again my X value will be 2 power. Now my X value is a 16 now. So what do you mean by 2 power 16? What is the value? So that is a 65,536. So this is the value, friends. 65,536. So X value will be 16 will become a 65,536. And I values get incremented. 4 will become a 5 now. And again I'll come back here now with comparison. 65,536 less than or equals to 1000 is a false. Okay, so I'll just come out of it. Okay, so just look at the I value. What is the I value? That is 5. So friends, by the end of that loop, my I value become a 5 now. Okay, friends, so this is one of the important bit, friends. Please look at carefully. Okay, so by the end of this loop, the I value become a 5. Hi friends, in software there is a metric called cyclomatic complexity. Okay, so what do you mean by cyclomatic complexity? So cyclomatic complexity will give you the complexity of a program. Okay, what do you mean by a cyclomatic complexity? It is a software metric that will give the complexity. Okay, that will give a quantitative value. Okay, how complex your program is. Okay, how you find out the cyclomatic complexity? So to find out the cyclomatic complexity, we use a formula called number of edges minus number of nodes plus 2 star p, where p is called number of connected components. Okay, so most of the times this p will be 1 only, friends. So in simpler form you can call it as the complexity m is equals to e minus n plus 2. In another way, you can also find this by using another formula. If there are some conditions, that is the decision conditions in your program, okay, the number of conditions plus 1 will give you the cyclomatic complexity. Okay, so why you need to find out the cyclomatic complexity? Okay, so this will define how complex your code is. Okay, if your code contains number of decisions, that means test conditions, your complexity of the code will become increases. Okay, I'll show you an example on this. Okay friends, so this is an example for calculating a cyclomatic complexity. Okay, just look at this pseudocode here. So here we are using this while loop m less than n. So this is the condition 1. Okay, so this is the condition 1, and if this is true, we go inside. Okay, so again you will check the if condition with two conditions. This is condition 2 and this is condition 3. Okay, x greater than y and a less than b. Okay, some random conditions. If this is true, okay, we'll execute this. If this is false, we execute this. Okay friends. Okay, again you'll go here and this will be repeated until your condition becomes false. Then you come here, m equals to m plus 1 and end while. Okay friends, so this is the code. Okay, the code part. Okay, so this is m equals to m plus 1 friends. Okay, so what I am here done here is I have draw a CFG. Okay, CFG. CFG stands for control flow graph. Okay friends, for finding the cyclomatic complexity, you have to draw a control flow graph for your code. Okay, so here I have made this while condition as a node here. So if this is true, I am coming to the if condition. If this is true, I am executing this. If this is false, I am executing this. Okay, I am taking while as a node, if as a node, true statement as another node, a false statement as another node. Okay, so now after doing this, I am doing a m equals to m plus 1. So either of these will bring you here. Okay, so then I'm going back to the while condition. So this will be repeated until my while becomes a false. Okay, so when my while becomes a false, okay, I'll come here. So this is the end of the while. Okay friends, so the end of the while also should be represented with a node. Okay, so here what I have given you the formula, the cyclomatic complexity m is equals to number of edges minus number of nodes plus 2. Okay, so how many edges are here? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, 6, 7 and this is 8. So there are total 8 number of edges here. 8 minus how many nodes are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 then plus 2. So which is nothing but simply 4. Okay friends. So my cyclomatic complexity for this code is 4 friends. 4. Okay, so I have already told you that there is another way to find out a cyclomatic complexity m. So that is equals to number of conditions. Number of conditions in my code plus 1. Okay, so how many conditions are here? This is a C1, C2, C3. There are 3 conditions I am checking in my code, so that increases the complexity. So the number of conditions are 3 plus 1 means which is 4. So in both the ways, the cyclomatic complexity for my pseudocode is 4. So this is another important concept friends. So cyclomatic complexity helps you in writing a complex less programs. That means you try to write a code which is the cyclomatic complexity should be less than or equals to 10 friends. Okay, then only your code will be considered as a efficient code. Okay, this is it friends. So this is another session of pseudocodes. Hope you understand all the problems. So these videos may get helpful for you. So we'll meet again in some other video with some other concept. So thank you for watching this video. Thank you so much. Bye.